All right, we are live. Hey, Scott Tucker here, and welcome to the Veteran Secrets Show, where we want to talk to active duty military families, and veterans about the secrets to, all aspects of improving your life, and not just about military transition stuff, but basically what this show's about is the idea of being reliant on paychecks and government benefits for your whole life, and figuring out a way to develop autonomy and financial control, as I write about a lot in my new book that's coming out here in a few weeks, Veteran Wealth Secrets. So excited to talk about that and more. But really today, I'm going to bring on my co-host and master of my life, my beautiful wife, Jen. And she herself is an award-winning podcast host. So really excited to get this show kicked off, because we're going to do something a little bit different than we do on some of our other things. And really just, excited. We've been talking about this for a long time. So I know a lot of people have been wanting us to do something like this because they like our funny banter in a way. And even though we're sitting in the same household, we found, hey, you know what? With the way this Zoom thing's been going for the lockdowns, it just makes everything quite easy. People are used to this kind of format, so we can get easy video and audio for people to participate. And we want to be doing it live as much as possible, at least when you and I are going, because we want this to be an interactive show with the audience. We don't really have an agenda. I'm kind of a wild chase squirrels type of guy. But I've really been paying attention to what's going on in the modern economy, not just, since the lockdown and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about the last few years. Ironically, it's all come to a head here in this last year. And now more important than ever, it's important to understand what the secrets are. And the secrets aren't really secrets. That's the point. It's like this stuff, the ability to participate in this modern economy, to learn the skills. You can do it quicker, cheaper, sometimes free, and faster than ever. Than when the traditional approach is, you have to go to school for a long time, spend a lot of money, you got to climb the ranks at a corporation, you got to bounce around from job to job. It's like, no, now is a time to really take full control. And so I think we talked a little bit about what we wanted to do here on this first episode, because we know this is going to take a long time as we're putting the ideas out there, and you're building an audience on social media. But that's kind of the point. We want to put our money where our mouth is, and implement a lot of things I talk about in the book. But you're the expert. You've been doing podcasting for quite some time now. I have a number of shows. I might be more of the writer, but I do like doing this kind of stuff. So thank you for finally getting it together for us.
Yes, honey, it's great to be on your show and to kick off your show. I kind of consider this conversation today as the trailer to Veteran Secrets. I don't know if did I freeze? Okay, there I am. Hi. Anyway, I consider this a trailer episode for Veteran Secrets, as well as, in promotion of your new book, Veteran Wealth Secrets. But yes, I have been, just a little background for people that are getting to know me for the first time. I'm an award-winning podcaster. I am an online entrepreneur. I have been an online entrepreneur since 2010. So this year is really my 10-year anniversary. And I have the fortune of having spent almost half of that time with my husband actually here. And also I'm a Gold Star daughter. My dad had served in the 80s and 90s, and I am a veteran spouse. So married to this guy over here. So thank you for having me. And I'm just really excited to just kind of have fun with you like we usually do when we do stuff like this, and have our audience get to know us, and more importantly, what we hope to accomplish with this show.
No, absolutely. It's like, I'm always ranting to you about various ideas or things that are going on in the world, or things that piss me off. And so it makes sense to record it and see, who else might benefit from some of those rants, if only for their own amusement. Like sometimes it make you laugh, but cool. Well, like I said, you're the expert for kind of getting these things off the ground. What do we want to dive into today?
Yeah, and I just want to, rather than describe your form of venting to me often as rants, I consider that as passion for America, passion for our veterans and military community. And this is why, for some time now, I have been persistent in having you do a show because I think that, personally speaking, and maybe I'm biased because I'm your wife, but I just feel like you say the best stuff when you're very candid, when you're just talking to me or you're just talking to our colleagues at US Vet Wealth. And so that's why I'm just so glad that we're finally kicking this off. And I'm really looking forward to, our listeners have a lot to look forward to. And just a little background is that, prior to doing this show, we had another show called Wealth and Liberty. And we had released a couple of episodes out there. I have to double check. I think it was around almost 30 episodes at this point. And even though we had
More than a couple.
Yeah, definitely more than a couple. And although we have been off season with that show, we have been receiving a lot of positive feedback. And so, just real briefly, before we really dive into the next topic, Honey, if you want to just share some of the feedback you've been receiving so far from our Wealth and Liberty podcast.
Yeah, I basically just people have kind of really resonated with some of the things we were talking about. And they like the style. And so when I kind of go off on these tangents, it's nerve-wracking a little bit, your first time out doing this stuff. It's like, oh, do I really want to say this or that? But the whole point of not just that show, but really the Veteran Wealth Secrets book is I gotta speak the truth. I went to West Point and they always talk about duty, honor, country. And when I came to find that a lot of the stuff we were told about, not just military life, but veteran life, but just American life in general, I just found it to be like, this isn't what I signed up for. I thought there was going to be something more. I felt like this kind of unrewarded veteran. Not that I was trying to be greedy or anything. It's just like, man, I thought I did all the things, I checked all the boxes. Where is it, or what is it? And that's when I realized that, I've been trying to, follow the orders or waiting for somebody to show me, or following a mentor around, or following some sort of, promotion sequence around. And, none of it gets what you want unless you actually choose to decide to go find out what you really want this life to be about. And, we're in America. Most of Maslow's hierarchies of needs are pretty well taken care of. And it's kind of like, all the things that people usually say are a goal. Oh, I want to buy a house or this or that. It's like, no, we're in America. That's what you're supposed to do. What's that next thing? And while we all say, hey, serving our country, is important, we can't do that forever. And if we get so used to just having somebody else tell us the mission or the reason behind something, and for myself, and I feel like, I was going down that, kind of, let's say, mental struggle of trying to understand what this is all about. We see so many veterans dealing with it. And, I realized, coming from the financial industry, that this is all about money. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be, but this seems to be this marker. And then there's all these benefits that everything could be equated to a certain amount of dollars. And so it's like, we're looking at this in the wrong way. We're looking at it as, hey, you gotta slave away, work for somebody else for a long time, so hopefully you can save enough money to maybe one day not have to do that anymore. And then do what? I don't know, go on a cruise? Like, I don't know. That doesn't sound all exciting for me. And I realized it probably isn't for a lot, because it's like, I want to, so many people tell me, and I didn't have this like desire I just want to help people and that kind of stuff, because I didn't know what that meant. But I did want to be meaningful, and so one way to be meaningful is to help people. And so I know so many veterans and military spouses, for that matter, are constantly thinking, hey, all I want to do is be of service, be helpful, or just doing something meaningful. But we didn't really know how to define that. And I've been on a journey for a number of years, and I kind of think I found some secrets that I can't believe nobody else would tell me or had
Right.
told me about. And that's really what I want this show to be about. Yes, I'm gonna rant a lot on some various topics. I want to talk about current events a little bit and how they apply, and really how we can look not just all the bad things going on to fix them. It's like, nah, we want to look at the opportunity at hand. That's the biggest thing I talk about is opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is when you don't take an action and see what could have happened. And I think much of my life has been kind of jumping from thing to thing all over the place, constantly building skill sets and building awareness of how the world works, what doesn't work, taking some risks that maybe other folks couldn't take that I was able to, and I want to share what I've learned. And for the right type of people, or for certain types of folks that are looking for something more, but again, just don't know where to go. That's what I want this show to be about, because that's where I felt I was. Almost 10 years ago, when I'd already been out of the military for a number of years, but I kind of hit that point where I was like, this is not what I wanted to be about. I don't know what it is I'm looking for, but I'm going to go look for it. I can't. I went looking. I can't believe I didn't find. I couldn't find any answers, and so I started developing them myself. There wasn't just one old veteran who's like, "Yeah, it's this. This is what they didn't tell us," and I just feel compelled, to tell the truth of all the stuff they didn't tell us, and a lot of times how they're misleading us, away from stuff. I mean, if you look at my T-shirt, this is what it's really all about. This is what the show is all about. It's like when you sign up to serve in the military, you willingly are giving up your liberty in service to the government, frankly. And, we say we're government issue, we're government soldiers, and we have to do whatever the government tells us to do. Now, I have serious issues with that now, and we'll talk about that kind of stuff on the show as well. But we knowingly do it. And so when we're getting out of the military, we have that time, that opportunity to take that liberty back and truly do what we want. Because, as my shirt says, I served for it, I earned it. And, that's just a simple thing to ask. And it's almost like, because the American people are so giving to the veteran community and there's so many benefits and stuff, I think a lot of that actually backfires. So the trick to liberty is taking full 100% self-responsibility. I'm not saying not to use some of the government benefits, a lot of the pats on the back we get for having served. Like, absolutely use them, but use them with intention instead of just expecting more handouts. And those are some of the secrets I want to talk about. But also, we want to talk to the people going through it right now, and we want to learn. So, what are your secrets? What is it, something that you've learned in your life that you implement that you can't believe nobody ever told you about, and you're surprised nobody else is really doing it as well? That was my thing. It's like, I was always shocked. Everybody's writing resumes, and I was like, how is that useful? A resume, you just put yours in a stack of 200 other veteran resumes. They all look the same. And frankly, whenever somebody sends me a resume, I don't want to read that. That'd make me do work. Right. So it's just harder these days. A better thing would be to make a video, explain yourself, or even better, write a book. So I started doing those types of things, and I was always surprised nobody did it. So why isn't everybody writing a book? Not to go publish it and sell it. You can maybe, but really just to get out of your own head and figure out what you really want. I mean, that's what it did for me. So anyways, I kind of went off on a lot there. Where do you want to dive a little deeper?
Yeah, I also want to just backtrack a little bit, and I want to share a fun fact to our listeners that they may not know about Scott, and it's that he is an introvert. And I think for most introverts, the only time that, let's say, they come out of their shell or they come out of their cave, because we very much appreciate being in isolation and being lost in our own inner world and, indulge in introspection. But when an introvert, generally speaking, of course, and if you want to learn more about introverts, a book I highly recommend, which is actually behind me right here, is Quiet by Susan Cain. all about introverts on a scientific level and all that stuff. But when they have something that's really like they feel really strongly in their heart that they want other people to know about, that they feel like it's their sense of responsibility to share this message, they go and do it. They public speak even though they don't like public speaking. They'll do marketing. They'll put themselves out there because like they just know that this is so much greater than them. And so I just want to take a moment and applaud you for that, Scott, because, you know, in the years that we've worked together, I know it's been a very courageous act for you to get this message out there. And I'm always here saying, just post it, just put it out there. But you're always trying to perfect your message. And to me, that shows one, like just your desire and sense of responsibility to serve our military community. But two, to do it in a way that really speaks to them. And that's not always easy to do. You think of most entrepreneurs where they get started and they think they have this perfect solution for this ideal person. But then once they start to put it out there, it comes off awkward, kind of like maybe, you know, the first time you have a blind date and you're stumbling over your words and you don't know what to say. But you've been so, in the years that we've worked together, you've been so meticulous in getting your message right. And which is why I'm so excited, you know, to have our book, Veteran Wealth Secrets, out. Excuse me, the book out, because I think that book really embodies, not just our time together and working on this project, but, you know, since you've gotten out of the military, I think it really encapsulates what you stand for, why you stand for it, and why you're stepping out of your introvert cave, you know, figuratively speaking, to get this message out there to our veterans and our military families.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And I want to make it very clear what I believe the message to be and what makes, what we're doing and, you know, what the show will be about different than a lot of the other, you know, military and veteran, you know, let's call them self-help groups or shows that talk about, usually it's about transition in some capacity, or it's about military spouse employment. And we obviously discuss those things because, but you know, unfortunately, I think that's where most other resources in our space stop. They think the end is getting, you know, the spouse the job, the veteran the job, you know, so on and so forth, helping with military and veterans issues. And I think that's a means to an end in a good way because it's part of the journey, anyways. What I mean by the end, what we're looking for, I'm serious. I'm really serious about this concept of liberty and what our Constitution, what this whole experiment of America is about. We're in the fourth stage of the Industrial Revolution. We're entering the internet age. We're in this like crazy time of an economy and in a land where people have come together and created these opportunities for us. And so many Americans are just squandering it by complaining about trivial things when it's like, no, we're just sitting on this amazing thing right now. And yes, we've made tremendous mistakes and stuff, 20 years of war to name it. Like, but, you know, wouldn't it be better if these veterans that have, you know, gone through this stuff, the spouses who have, you know, really seen, you know, a kind of what happens when you participate in, you know, very, very difficult challenges and, you know, move around a lot, have seen a lot of the country, a lot of the world. I believe that our community is in a much better position to kind of shake America out of all this BS that's going on and say, you know, hey, there's worse things out there. We have it pretty good. Why don't we go take advantage of this awesome opportunity we have and make sure that, you know, we don't ruin this whole experiment. And so it's not a political thing one way or the other than, you know, get out of my way and allow us to lead. Now, I mean, do I mean I want more veterans running for office and stuff in military? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I really don't think that changes. I think government's a big problem in all this. But just to have more veterans not feeling like they just have to follow that path of climbing the corporate ladder and going through the rat race, like that's the only way. It might have been in the past, but now, right now, there's just so many opportunities to lead, to be a voice, to be a financial resource or an asset for the greater good, I think that's where we can make a difference as a community, unlike any others. But if we don't get those other things right first, take responsibility, figure out what it means to serve and how I want to do it without following orders, figuring out how finances fit in, figure out how networking fits in, figure out what it means to be a human. Really, I mean, I don't know. I went through a pretty crazy spiritual experience a couple years ago after my dad died. Had to do with going to a shaman. And, after that, you can't take it back. It's like, hey, I saw something extremely powerful that I didn't think that was going to be as real as it was. It was pretty darn real. And so I can't go back and just be like, oh, I'm just going to go back to my job and, retire one day and then I'll die. Like, I don't know. That sounds pretty boring, pretty mediocre to me. And I would think people that have served, even a little bit in the military want more than that because they see it. They can see the opportunity. Maybe a lot don't. Maybe just kind of some go through the motions for the paycheck. That's how it is in any, decadent society. But, clearly, if you're a fan of history, and you all should be, if you're not, this is very similar. What's happening in America right now is what happened in Rome. They did it over, a longer period of time, but things are moving so much faster right now that, we could implode this opportunity. And I don't know, I'd like to see what happens in 30, 40, 50 years if I'm still around, if we don't destroy it and just, eat away at ourselves. And so this is the way that, the only way I figured out so far that I can, sort of take that next step and, see where it goes. And hopefully I can get some more folks around us as we have already who are just like, yeah. That's kind of here's what I get a lot. When you originally asked me, what's the feedback we're getting? Usually it's something along the like, I was feeling that way. I didn't know how to describe it. That this is making more sense. It's a better story. And that's all we want is just realizing, the book that we've been given about how we're supposed to live our lives, honestly, it's a boring story. And it was hard to find other ones that are more exciting. Well, we're about 20 years into this internet age. It's still pretty darn young. We're still figuring it out, but it's a completely different animal. Unfortunately, it ties in with something that's been called the fourth turning. You might have heard this phrase that it's something like dangerous times make strong men make decadent times make weak men create chaos. And we're kind of in that fourth stage of, it's more of a, there's also the difference between a me society and a we society. And we're hitting that kind of we society, which sounds good. Unfortunately, that means that they don't respect individualism in reality, and they start forcing, we must all live this way. We must all, if you're not doing it this way, then you're wrong. And so that's some scary stuff. And we've been fighting against that in this country since it was founded. The whole point of America is really, entrepreneurship. Stay out of my shit. This is, that's all. And so as we, go in and out of that over the decades, you can see it throughout history. And we're definitely in a phase of that right now. I fear that if we don't protect our individualism and our liberty in a way together, because this next time I don't think it comes back. I think there's far too much controls with big tech. You look at the censorship and stuff that's going on. You look at the amount of money and power that few individuals can have, and the things that they can do by manipulating through propaganda the bigger society. It almost sounds conspiratorial if it wasn't just so obvious. It's just most people aren't really paying attention to it. So there's only one way to protect yourself from it. It's to create an individual brand, and or wealth in whatever capacity that means for you. For me, wealth isn't about money. Money, again, is another means to an end. Wealth is simply the ability to choose how you spend every ounce of whatever time you have left on this earth, so that you'd never have to answer to somebody else or some location. You're not stuck down to anything. That's, I think, the goal that we must all strive for if we want to be able to control how we participate in this world. Because you can have all these great side projects and stuff, but if you got to be at work on Monday for the rest of your life, then you're never going to be able to fully use you grow to your full capacity as a human to participate in that. So I'm not saying don't have a job, especially if you love your job. Like, great, that maybe that is your purpose, your mission. That's fine. Not everybody needs to go do this, but for those that have it in them and they say one day, yeah, that makes sense. I need to get in the position to try it. Well, I'm here to tell you, it takes a long time. It takes a big mindset shift. It takes a lot of self-education, not going back to college and that kind of stuff. But sometimes it takes taking multiple jobs. Be prepared to bounce around a little bit so you see different perspectives and stuff. So nothing wrong with having a job, even if you want to be self-employed or not even work anymore, whatever that means. Eventually, yeah, we gotta use the resources around us to get there. But that's the opportunity, is just think about it differently. Don't just assume, well, this is my new job, therefore my new career, and this is all I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. That scared the crap out of me when I got out of the military, became a financial advisor, didn't like it, didn't think it was actually helpful, thought it was quite disingenuous, not just, me or my firm, but the whole thing. And yet I had it this in my head that, well, this is what I am now, so that's what I have to do, and that's my new career. And it really took me many, many years to say, no, I want to go choose my own path. Ironically, I stayed in the financial industry because I realized, well, shit, this is where all the money is. That's where power is. Well, let's teach veterans how to use it more intentionally, so they're not just throwing money back to the government in the form of taxes or stupid benefits they shouldn't be paying for, or not realizing their true potential for income and different ways to get income. It's like, okay, yeah, I need to be in the financial industry, but it's not about stocks and bonds and insurance and stuff. Yeah, those are parts of it, but really it's about understanding what money means in the modern economy and how you can get it and use it, not just save it in some sort of bank account or investment account where maybe it grows, for whatever you're paying for it, and you're not actually taking responsibility and control of these assets and resources and using them intentionally in the present term to better yourself for whatever it is you want to do.
See, honey, this is why this is great that we're doing a show, because you have just dropped a lot of knowledge just now, just candidly talking to me.
You're welcome.
Well, with that said, if our listeners have seen me looking down, it's because I was taking copious notes on what you were saying. And, I think the common theme that you were saying just now is the ability to choose choice over comfort. And a lot of people right now are comfortable for a number of reasons. One, because they followed the path that was popularized and normal and standard. And two, actually, that's kind of it. I think a lot of it has to do with that comfort level of like, this is familiar, this is socially accepted, therefore I'm going to stick with this. And of course, people have their other personal reasons as well. I don't want to discount people who that's the only choice they feel like they have right now, because maybe they're taking care of, someone in their family where they need to have that form of stability. So I don't want to discount that. But I think what you're trying to say to our listeners is we're speaking to the people who absolutely know they have a choice. They know that they want more. They know they can have more. They know they can do more. And they're fairly aware of the resources. But again, they're choosing comfort over choice. And I believe the reason why they're choosing comfort over choice is because having more choices and taking that risk to step out of your comfort zone, it's not popular. It's scary. It's the unpaved path. And so people are willing to maybe dip their toes in having more choices, such as having that side hustle or, doing something on the side. But when it comes to going all in, we need more examples of that. And that's what we are courageous enough to, in a sense, be the trailblazers to say, you can have more choices. You can have personal autonomy. You are allowed to do that. And we are going to do our best here at Veteran Secrets and through your book, Veteran Wealth Secrets, and our company, US Vet Wealth, to provide the tools and the education and the encouragement to take a leap of faith on yourself, because especially to our veterans and our military families and our spouses, you absolutely deserve it. You sacrificed more than the average American, and therefore you deserve it. We just feel compelled, as Scott being a former veteran and myself being a Gold Star daughter, to say, you deserve more, and we are going to do what we can in our power to normalize this conversation that you are allowed to choose choice over comfort and actually aspire for personal autonomy. So that is generally the theme that I got from hearing you talk.
Yeah. So, think about it this way. We always talk about the, excuse me. I have to cut that out. But we always talk about the smart and safe path. Mm-hmm. And in this day and age, I will argue, and I argue in the book, that the smart and safe path is no longer smart nor safe. Mm-hmm. One, from the mental stability thing. It is so. We're seeing it in the amount of depressions and suicides out there. The comfort thing really does play into that, because people lose that sense of meaning. If you wake up 10 years later, you're doing the same thing you did 10 years before, where's the growth? Mm-hmm. Like, we must grow. And the other aspect of it not being safe is, any business owner, I don't care if you're a plumber or a baker or whatever, you want customers plural. If you only have one customer, then if something goes wrong, anything whatsoever, you don't make the same thing that one person likes, or for whatever reason, they don't have money and they can't buy your product anymore. If you have one customer, then that's it. If anything goes wrong, well, isn't that what happens when you have one employer? Mm-hmm. And it's just so disappointing to me that we've been led to believe that having a job is the goal. Like, once you have a job, people can say, well, what do you do? Well, I do this. And it's like, until something happens, you get sick, you can't go to work, the company fails, they're just laying people off. We've seen that like crazy the last few months. And I think that's the biggest lie to not just veterans and military spouses, but to the American people in this land of opportunity, this land of entrepreneurship. We're at this phase of the new industrial revolution where anybody can create the multiple sources of income to protect themselves against exactly that. And I think it's almost necessary to, because we don't know what's coming on the horizon with what they're going to do to us. The lockdowns that they might, continue to occur, the things like contact tracing, microchipping, it's going to get really weird when we start talking about autonomy. And if you are only limited in the mindset of, well, this is my job, and then all of a sudden they create all these bunch of rules that are going to control so much more aspect of your life, but you've only got that one source of income. It's got to start now, because this doesn't happen overnight. It's a whole new form of education. So either you participate or you get left behind. Technology always wins. What happened to all the whole, what was it, the horse shit industry? And
we were talking about that. How, I was asking you, what happened to the horse industry when cars came in?
Yeah, there's lots of people that had all sorts of different jobs, mm-hmm. industries that just went away when new technology came. Like, we don't think that's going to happen, and mm-hmm. so you can say, oh, that's not me. Aw, shucks. Well, that might have been okay in the past when change would happen over decades. But, are we not seeing the proof, the amount of change? How most Americans are just absolute sheep. Like we just stood in line today, out in the parking lot, social distance from everybody, and 90% of the people were still wearing masks. And I was like, how is this helping anything? Like, we've pretty much proven this isn't a deadly disease at all, less so than the flu. And yet we're all just too afraid to stand up and say anything. Because you can't, because you'll be ostracized. Like, that's not what I served for. That's not the liberty I thought America was about. So, either we position now yelling on social media isn't going to fix anything, or just being, I'm going to be different, and just, I'm going to go into the stores and not wear the mask. It's like, you can't, we're seeing it right now. So, what little control we can have and how quickly it'll change, I don't know. But if you don't start trying to take, autonomy back in your life, we're going to have no chance whatsoever. And I don't want to be alone doing this. I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to take to get to the point where, I feel like it's like, hey, if we need to get the heck out of here, we can just go. But it's like, I've been, digging deep the last few years to try to find it. And so I want to help people do it quicker than I've done it, to learn from my mistakes, whether that's financially or just, implementation of stuff. But, just in this last year, I've taught myself how to build a website from scratch with WordPress. I've written, about 50 or 60 articles. I was never a writer. Learned how to publish them. I learned how to basically become an expert at LinkedIn. I don't use it as much actively anymore because I'm doing all this other stuff, but I created a whole course on how to do it. I was publishing all sorts of stuff there and learned all sorts of cool things. We've started a number of podcasts. I've written 3 books, and revamped our whole back end in our business. Oh, and I learned search engine optimization from scratch and a couple other things. But it's like I would teach myself something on a weekend. I'd take a course and I start implementing it on Monday. And I start seeing results in a couple weeks, and I do a little bit more of it. And then I build a new skill set. It's like anybody can do this. It's a lot of it's free on things like YouTube. But, if you're not on the forefront of this, you're going to get left behind. You don't want to be a late adapter. You want to be an early adopter, right? Because when you're adapting to something, it's when you're like, all right, now everybody's doing it. I guess I got to learn this new way of doing things. And it sucks when you're doing it that way. But if you're the early adopter, then you can choose how to implement the innovations and find the other people to network with that are thinking that way. Do you know how much faster you can move forward? Like I can't stand it when I look back at a lot of my, what I considered very close friends, but I realize now it's like, oh, they don't want to adopt. They're feel comfortable in their jobs or whatever, which could disappear overnight. And, sometimes they come to me saying, oh man, I'm in a rut. I don't know what to do. And I explain to what we're doing. And they'll go, oh, that sounds like snake oil sales. And it's just like, wow, you're not even willing to be open-minded enough to realize what I was doing wasn't working. But, now I want to try something different. And, oh, that sounds too crazy. It's like, what on earth is crazy about it? How do you think that all these businesses and stuff got started to begin with? Like, that's what's so scary about America, is that we're so brainwashed in this education and job system and pay taxes system and to retirement that we just, scoff at anything out of the ordinary. And what we're seeing now is if you don't join, this new opportunity, the ordinary life is not only going to be mediocre, it's going to be quite dangerous. And I just believe that not only do veterans, as you said, and military spouses deserve it because of the sacrifice, again, we must do this. I feel it is our new duty to participate and learn these skills and take those leadership roles in our economy, perhaps in politics. Again, I don't think that's really going to help anything, but anyways, we'll see.
Yeah. And, again, I think you're talking about comfort over choice. And it's not to say, and for people who choose comfort for specific reasons. It is what it is. But for those who know that they want to step out of their comfort zone, I think the reason why that comment was received is, again, the lack of education, the lack of normalizing that there's life outside of the 9 to 5, outside of the standard go to school, get good grades, get a good job and a house and a car and a family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so we are bold enough to say that there is a life outside of that. There's a good life, a great life outside of that. And it starts with just that desire, or more importantly, and you could probably say this quote better than me, but I think that there's two things that have to come into place for people who need to be forced into this situation or need to be forced to finally make a choice. And I think one is usually some kind of maybe traumatic event or some kind of catalyst, like losing a job again, or, just a situation where you have to make some big decisions because you're reacting to your circumstances. I think that's one way that leads people, like, very often, there's a lot of people that I've had conversations with where they identify as an accidental entrepreneur, meaning that they fell into this on accident because of life circumstances. But the quote that I think you can say better than me has to do with the pain of mediocrity. Some people have to reach a level of pain in their comfort zone to make a change. And so can you elaborate? I know you know that quote so well, so why don't you tell our listeners what that quote is?
Well, I mean, I don't even know if there is an actual quote, so maybe you got that wrong. But no, what I'm thinking of, I know what you're thinking of. The pain of mediocrity, it can get so great because if you think about it, the quote is this: most people will spend 40 years, doing something they hate, but won't spend 4 years, eating shit so they can do something they love. Right. Mm-hmm. Most people spend 40 years doing something they hate just so they can, have that comfort so they can eventually retire one day, but not take a fraction of that time, which seems like a long time. 4 years is a long time, but to take a tenth of that overall time so that you can spend the next 36 years do whatever it is you love as many times as it might change and to truly experience this life. Like, that's the opportunity. Like, we are living in the best time of all of human history. Most of human history, probably 99.9% of all of human history, including many of the billions of people alive today, have no choice. They were born into whatever squalor they were born into, whatever situation they were born into, whether it's, religion or some sort of, country where they don't have freedoms and they're forced to live life a certain way. Or it was just, the past. They were hunters and gatherers. They simply had to eat, had to just survive. I mean, isn't it our duty to actually participate in what it is that they've built for us? Because we're not just born today. We're born based off of, into the society that was created before us. And, just in these recent years, really since World War II, just the amount of things when it comes to things like travel, just air travel in general, the ability to just get up and go and, have a pretty good idea that you're going to land somewhere in a few hours and it's all going to be good. When 150 years ago, you get on a boat to cross the ocean or something, it wasn't guaranteed you were going to get there. And so, and that happens even today when people in places like Cuba or Syria or North Africa are trying to flee just the lives that is just so horrible wherever they're at, whatever's going on, whether it's civil war or communism, they're willing to jump in boats and go across uncharted waters. The Mexicans that go through the deserts and all that stuff, it's fascinating, that we don't seem to really, we see it on the news and we go, oh, that's a shame or whatever. It's just like, could you put yourself in that situation where you'd be willing to do something like that, out of necessity for your family or whatever? It's like, all right, so since we don't have to worry about it, what is our responsibility to, maybe go create more opportunities so those people don't have to do that anymore? But that requires creating a freer world. And those people are fleeing oppression. I don't know what that means because I don't necessarily think we should go invade every country and save them that way. But it's like we got to be a better example, and so being comfortable is really, that's where the mediocrity tends to lie, or
Yeah, and
apathy.
I want to rephrase what I said earlier. Now that I was reflecting on it, and I realized
Mm.
it wasn't necessarily a quote, but someone said in this way, and so I'm going to paraphrase how they said it, but it's something along the lines of, the pain of mediocrity has to outweigh, your comfort in mediocrity in order for you to make a change. Something of the sort. I mean, you
Yeah,
guys can interpret it your way, but the what I got from that statement was that, some people just have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired in order to do something.
yeah.
They have to have been so comfortable in their situation that it no longer wasn't enough for them. It was no longer fulfilling for them.
Right.
And I think that those are really the people we really want to talk about. Going back again to choice over versus comfort, the ones who are tired, the ones who want more and they know they want more and they can do more. We want to help you walk that journey of exploring different options outside of what you're used to or what is normalized, popularized, standardized, etc.
No, absolutely. So I think this is a good spot to kind of mention the book. Make sure you go to veteranwealthsecrets.com. We'll put the link down below and you can get a closer look at our ideas. The book's totally free if you want the PDF version. It'll be up on Amazon on Veterans Day, November 11th, which is really, gosh, it's only about 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
So, but really excited. Would love to get your feedback on the concepts in the book, and we'd actually like to have you on the show as well. So, we'll be linking to a what do you call it? Like a data, like a question
Application.
application for lack of a better term. To see, hey, what's your secret? I want you to share your secret. It can be about, all sorts of various topics, whether it's, how to, do your military career better, how to have military family life. What's your secret to that? What's your secret to growing your network? What's the secret to dealing with finances, maybe real estate? Anything that you found in your life that, one, again, you can't believe nobody told you this. You kind of stumbled into it yourself. That's what we're really looking for. And something where you're like, geez, I can't believe everybody isn't doing this. Like when you read in my book how I talk about the financial strategy we implement, we call it the financial control strategy, because that's what positions yourself to actually participate in the economy. I'm like, why doesn't other financial professionals do this? I don't know. They could, but they don't, because they're all just, following the cookie cutter path of how you're supposed to do this stuff. And it's like, that's not advice. If you can Google something, it's not advice anymore. Maybe it was in the past. So what does it really mean to do stuff? So that's what the book's about. That's what I want this show to be about. But again, it doesn't have to all be about money. I would love to hear what your secrets are. Looking to learn, and I want this to be a place where veterans and military families are coming to figure out, how do I get outside the box? That's a hard thing to do when you're in the military. You're not allowed to be creative. And so, but it's imperative. We must become creative. So really looking forward to many episodes to come, and we will see you on the next show. Thanks for joining us. And thank you, Jen.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.